You guys probably already know what these are, right? We got some fresh, unopened US proof sets from the 60s, and we're going to do the engineer's job right now. Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I have a video opening some original proof sets from the 60s. And of course, the first thing that I'd always look for when I go through these type of things is I'm looking for the cameos. That's just a thing that I know is popular, but I'm looking to not cut my hand. That's also a thing that is very popular. Me cutting things open is something that we just have to do off the camera nowadays because of everyone is pretty well convinced that I'm going to cut myself, and at that point it's going to be a problem. So we're going to go ahead and open up a fresh proof set here. And the thing is, we're not just going to look for cameos. Of course, we're going to look for some of the different double dies and things that are on these proof sets. And we've talked a lot about this, how, you know, my perspective on some of this stuff has really changed over the last year or two. For those of you who cherry pick and look for things in these sets, I totally get it. The mid-century modern, I think, is generally speaking, has a really bright upside, a real bright future. And I'm going to use the engineer's cheat sheet. So the engineer, one of these days when we get our get our website updated, maybe we'll have some of these PDFs available for you, to where you've got a cheat sheet of some of the coins to look for by year. And so we are looking at a 1961 set here. And none of the coins appear to be really cameo at all or frosted. So 61, there are double dies on each of the coins. There's a double die reverse on the nickel and unum on the unum, the pluribus unum. We're going to take a closer look here and see if we can really see. And the other thing, of course, is we've got the cheat sheet, but then I've got the cherry picker guides nearby, so I can look and see if something looks like it is actually doubled. We can verify with the cherry picker's guide. Let's see if you can find anything on there. So this does not appear to be doubled. So a lot of the stuff that's in the cherry picker's guide is fairly obvious, although some of it's a lot harder to see than others. What else we got here for the 61? The quarter has a double die obverse, and In God We Trust. Double die obverse, In God We Trust. And of course, this stuff is very hard for me to film. But, you know, because the funny thing is, by the way, if you look at proof coins too much with a magnifying glass and a bright light, everything looks doubled. Sometimes for the next hour, everything will look doubled. And then there are a bunch of different 50-cent varieties here. Double die reverse, E pluribus unum, super obvious. This is one of the biggest errors to look for in the coin world. You'll see the P over the P. I mean, this is one of the things, one of the rare times when it's super obvious. There's also a double die reverse where the eagle's tail feather is, you got doubling over there, and this appears to be a regular one just at a glance here. And then you have one with the perimeter lettering kind of doubled up. So, you know, what I want to find, there's actually a coin that has the D printed on the back here. I got to remember which state that was. It's on the list here in front of me, but we'll take a look. Let's go ahead and crack open another 61 and look for whatever is obvious, right? So I got another 61 here that we're going to crank open right now. And honestly, I should have, you know, actually put in a fresh razor blade before I started doing this, but because I don't know what good it is to have a razor blade if it's not actually that fresh. So we're going to take a look here at the next 61. Once again, we're not seeing any real cameo effect on these guys. We'll look for the doubling on that nickel. We want something to pop up at us. So when the engineer isn't busy making videos, the engineer is compiling lists of different types of errors and double dies, making his own little cheat sheets, and looking through mid-century modern stuff for some of these cherry picker type items. Now the P on this actually looks a little bit goofy. I'm gonna try to look outside the camera because the camera is hard to see through. All right, I think it's just the normal one. It doesn't look like it's doubled. And then the quarter has the obverse one with the In God We Trust being doubled. Let's take a closer look at that. And sometimes it helps just to, I'm just going to glance at the cherry picker and show you guys what this looks like. So, you know, sometimes if you read something and you just say, oh, there's a double die obverse on that, what am I actually looking at? It can be really difficult to actually know exactly what it is you're looking at. By the way, the $50 that has the misplaced D is the 62 half dollar. And you can see when you look at an up close blown up photo, even in the cherry picker's guide, how minor that doubling is. There's certain letters you can see a little bit more, the T and the R, but some of the other ones are very, very difficult to see. All right, let's grab a couple of these 62s. The 62s are the ones that have the really cool misplaced D, and we're going to look for those here in just a second. Cut away from yourself, right? Not towards yourself. So we'll go opposite of what I was doing there. That's more like it. All right, we've got some lovely environmental damage. Really some heavy toning on these guys, which is something that you'll see from time to time. Kind of dark and heavy toning. No real cameos. Now eventually, if you get some of the wild toning on these pennies, right now the collector market on those is pretty strong. So let's go ahead and look for, they have a double die obverse where the 2 is doubled and the 2 is not doubled on this. It looks to be pretty static. And what we want to see is this extra D punched on here because it's such a cool variety. You know, it's not likely we'll find one, but I'll show you kind of what the picture looks like from the book here. Also on the 62 set, the 1 set, there is a double die where we've got the RIC in America and the initials doubled. So it's all off to this side here, and you're not going to be able to see probably with the 10 power. This one was actually not as hard to see because the initials had some pretty strong doubling, and of course it's a little bit harder to film. Like I talked about before, if we found something really good, we'd probably take a few still shots of it. So let's open up another one of these bad boys. And take a look. Another 62 set coming right up. Another 62 set. Here we go. This 62 set also has some of that toning to it. I'm going to look for that double die on the ICA and the FG. That looks pretty normal on that guy. And then we're going to look for our D, extra D. Now there's something almost where the extra D should be, but I think that's just some of the toning. And then of course that other one was the double die obverse with the 62 with the extra doubling on the 2. And this looks to be pretty normal. I'm going to show you a picture of what that misplaced D looks like. It's pretty faint, and so they've got some extreme close-ups of it here. It's just this little dot, and you can see it's almost impossible to see in this picture, and it's up here, an up-close picture. It's actually a D. It's a little bit like the super bird. There's actually a quarter that has an S right in the middle of the bird, which is fun because, you know, it's appropriately named and has kind of a cool nickname to it, cool concept. All right, so we're gonna move on to a couple of 63 holders and see what we can find in these guys, if anything. 63 has 1 cent, 10 cent, 25 cent, a bunch of different ones. If I take the time to open these without cutting myself. Really clean looking set. I mean, compared to those last two 62s, which were just had all kinds of cruddy toning on them. So the 1 cent has a double die reverse where the CA is popping. So we'll look at the reverse here and see if the CA looks like they've got a lot of action going on or not. Does not appear to be on that guy. And then the 10 cent, there's 3 different 10 cent varieties here, which is interesting because there's not a lot of 10 cents aren't, I don't know, poor Roosevelt, huh? I'm laughing because like nobody collects Roosevelt dimes, do they? I know people do. I'm just kind of teasing. So there is a double die reverse where the NIT and United is doubled, right? And then there's where dime is doubled. That one is actually a little bit more noticeable. I've not seen it here on that guy. And then you've also got the quarter with the ER in America. And a lot of these are pretty subtle. So, you know, even with magnification, they can be kind of hard to see. We're going to go ahead and pop off on one more of these guys and then call it a day and let the engineer do his job. He was gracious enough to let us peek into his world just a little bit here. But like I said, I had a whole box of these guys to go through. Once again, no Cameo. And by the way, it's likely that all these are going to look similar because they were all from the same group. So it's very likely that we're going to see similar grades and quality and stuff like that. So we'll go back to the 1 cent with the CA. Let's see if we can get a little bit doubling on there. I don't see a doubling. And the 10 cent, we had the United. We got a lot of little doubling here. It would be nice if we had something, but for those of you who cherry pick, then the 1 dime. For those of you who cherry pick, you know how this goes, right? You buy hundreds of proof sets and you go through them, and it's hard to find anything, right? And we got America and dollar on the quarter. And it's looking pretty static. All right, guys. Well, there are some ideas of stuff to look for, and you know, when you go through this stuff, you can see how hard it is to find stuff. Also, Cherry Picker's Guide provides a lot of stuff like this for you to look through and look at. It really is kind of fun. It's not the type of thing I normally do, but like I said, the engineer loves going through this stuff and finding some little gems once in a while. He's found quite a few. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I've been the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.